Good evening. We have 2 minutes till we go live. Good evening. My name is Dan Almdahl. I'm a Public Information Officer on Northwest Team 10. Welcome to tonight's public meeting. We will be providing you an update on the information for the Schneider Springs fire, which currently sits at about 102,356 acres and 17% contained. This is a public meeting, and we encourage and look forward to your participation. One way you can do that is submit questions or comments into the chat box. We have 7 presenters, 7 speakers on the agenda this evening, and when they're all done with their presentations, we will then be answering those questions that have made their way into that chat box on Facebook. I've asked each of the speakers to introduce themselves, and we're going to start off this evening with the incident meteorologist giving us a forecast for the fire area.
Good evening. My name's Phil. I'm the incident meteorologist with the team, and you may be wondering why even have a meteorologist on a fire team. Well, believe it or not, there's several scientists that support a fire team, especially when you're dealing with a fire this size. You need weather information in order to make predictions of where the fire may burn next and what sort of tactics are used in fighting the fire. So it's very important role of the meteorologist to provide that information to the team, and we're also here to keep the team safe. In terms of the weather conditions, that we've been dealing with, weather has kind of quietened down. We've been running temperatures cooler than normal, but we're still pretty dry. We haven't received very much rainfall yet to help things out. So one of the things that we're looking at into the future, and you may be hearing about on the TV news channels, is we got a rain event coming up toward the end of the week. But before we get to the rain event, we still have to deal with the dry and the wind and so forth that push the fire around. And most of you know here locally, anytime you get westerly winds that build up on the west side of the Cascade Range, that spills over. And any smoke that's generated by the fire gets pushed down drainage and into some of the communities that have to breathe that. So, we understand that, and I think there's some changes that are coming up that you're going to like. Right now, next 2 or 3 days, we're dealing with the warm and the dry. But come Friday, we're expecting a fall-like storm system that's going to impact much of Washington and Oregon. There's a river of very moist air that will come into the coast, and there may be as much as 1 to 2 inches of rain on the west side of the Cascades. Some of that moisture is going to spill over into this particular area, and there's about an 80% chance that we'll see at least 1/10 of an inch over the entire burn area. And there's about a 40 to 50% chance that we'll receive about a 1/2 inch of rain. So that will be quite meaningful. Something else that you're going to notice is the temperatures are going to be much cooler going into the end of the week. Temperatures by Friday and Saturday are going to be somewhere, 15 to 20 degrees below normal. What does that mean? Well, maybe some of that rain falls as snow in elevations above 6,000 feet. All told, that will help with the fire situation here. I'll be around for questions afterwards. and have a good evening.
Good evening, Forrest Oldby, fire behavior analyst with the team. And so I was sitting here thinking of what do I want to convey to you, or what are you guys going to ask me, or what do you want to know about the fire a little bit? And I was thinking, well, probably the one question that everybody has is, when's the fire going to go out, right? I mean, that's the one thing you're asking all the time is, when's the fire going to go out? Well, I can tell you it's not going to go out right away, but we've seen it slow down quite a bit. It slowed down a lot because those temperatures have dropped. We had a little bit of precipitation on Friday. And then we're looking at cooler temperatures even going on right now. That means, though, that because of the drought we had, those big, heavy logs, those fuels that were out there, are continuing to burn. It's just like when you build a fire in your fireplace, you want to hold it overnight, you throw in the biggest log. Well, those logs that are out there are still continuing to consume and are going to continue to consume until they're either all gone or we get people on them and actually put them out. Well, one of the things that's really tough is like you think of Edgar Rock out there, it's super steep. You can't get on it, and you can't get people in there to put it out, so it has to burn and consume it. So it's taken its time to consume and move and get through there. But the other problem on Edgar Rock is the way the fire's moved is it's got all these steep slopes out there. Everything's really rugged out there. Those logs will burn, but then they kick loose, and they roll down the hill, and they start new fire, and it continues to move and spread through that. Those big logs are going to continue to burn, continue to carry fire, and move around a little bit until we can get that consumed or mopped up with the people on there. So that's its mechanisms for moving, and it's there. We're looking at a lot of slowdown, though, with this fire, with the temperature changes, with the precipitation that's coming in. It's not going to end it, but it's definitely slowing down. Those big columns that you've seen push up, those cumulus columns are probably not going to be appearing again. We're really in a season slowing event coming up after Friday. We're looking at a couple more days, though, of burning conditions that are going to allow the fire to continue to burn, move around a little bit. But with the efforts that we have and the resources out there, I mean, you think of aircraft and all those, it stops it from having continuity to move around through those fuels. And the fuels, again, is that material that's out there, the timber, the brush, and everything else. So we're looking at slowing. It's not going to be out for a little bit of time yet, and I'll be around to answer any questions later on. Have a great night.
Good afternoon. My name is Dean Lang. I'm the operations chief for Northwest Team 10. So one of the questions I get asked a lot is when you have something especially this large, where do you even start? And so one of the things you'll notice on the map is that we've got alphabetical letters going around the fire, and that's how we divide the fire. It's a way we can geographically divide the work and all come together at the end. So I'll go around the perimeter of the fire, and then I also will be around for question and answer at the end. Over here in Division Alpha, for reference, this is the Bumping Lake area. We do have quite a bit of dozer line around the east side of the lake. As you know, there's cabins on the west side. Those all have some structure protection measures in place. As you know, life safety is always our number one concern, and so we want to make sure that that's taken care of first. Moving up into the Goose Prairie area, the fire is backing down the hill. We want it to do that. It's going at a nice slow rate, so it's acting like a nice controlled burn for us. So we're pretty happy with what's going on here at Goose Prairie. Moving a little further north, you'll see this little pooch right here. This is American Ridge, and it separates the 410 and the bumping. It's up on the ridge. There's not a lot of fire activity up there, and it too is backing down towards the 410. And again, it's doing exactly what we want it to do, especially this time of year. Moving over to the north part, what we're calling Delta and part of Hotel. This is where the majority of the activity is for firefighting. So we've got a few things going all at once here. One, we've got a control line going across this southern portion here, backed up by a firing operation that got complete today. So that'll button up this piece of the fire. Over here at Cliffdale, Edgar Rock, this has been our kind of a Achilles heel, so to speak, because we've got to get that containment or the rest of it doesn't matter. right? That's the thing about firefighting, is it's all or nothing. If there's one part that's open and that fire gets out of there, you start over. So we did identify a nice line we could do. This line got complete today. It's a combination of dozer and hand line. Currently it's being plumbed, meaning we got hose lines going down it so that we have water supply. And also they'll start firing operations on the fire side of this line to beef up that line. So that's a giant step forward for this piece of line. Also up here we made access so that we can come down with another line up here to seal this end off. This is going to take a few days, and so you heard the weather report. We've got a 3 or 4 day window tops, and so we're treating that as that's our time frame. We've got to get this work done, because if it's raining, that kind of stuff. If you're familiar with this Cliffdale area, it is vertical. It is very steep. It is very rocky, and it's very dangerous. You can't put firefighters in those kind of conditions. Moving down, much of this is in patrol status, meaning we've got engines that keep cruising around and looking and making sure everything is good. And we're backhauling some equipment. Some equipment's being put in some other areas. So, for instance, like this hose line up here. We also did get down into the southern portion down here, Shell Rock, Peak, and Burnt Mountain. We did burn to Burnt Mountain, and we got that secure. We decided not to proceed any further based on what we expect the fire to do. So that's where we're at with that. We have been running a day shift, a night shift. We have a repair division that is continuously working on repairing damages caused by the fire. That's been a big part of our effort. And then also, this is a 24-hour staff fire. We've got day shift, we've got night shift. And the idea there is that one shift will start a project and the other shift will finish it. If both of those shifts aren't in congruence with each other, we always end up with problems. So on this fire, it's been a tremendous effort by the day shift and the night shift folks. And so things are going good. You know, as I said, the priority is always life safety, right? The structure's at risk. Being in the Natchez or the bumping or the Fort Horton corridor, there is an unbelievable amount of cabins in there. If you haven't been in that country, there's way more cabins than you can ever imagine, and there's a whole lot of hose line and sprinkler systems and all kinds of things in place to protect the folks there. And I'll be around at the end for any questions.
Good evening, Tony Miller. I'm with the Yakima Valley Emergency Management. So we're going to talk a little bit about the evacuations tonight. So you've heard from weather, fire behavior, ops. That's the whole reason we were able to bring the evacuations down yesterday from a level 3 to a level 2. And that includes the Bumping Lake area, the Bumping Lake Road, and around Nile Cliffdale. As many of you know that were up there last week, the fire kind of got a little crazy on a day, so we decided to put some areas back into level 3. With the work the team's done and the crews out there and the weather, we were able to go ahead and bring those back. Level 1, it's kind of like this area down here where they're in patrol status. That's probably about the time we'll put this area back into level 1 once they get all that buttoned up. Feel free to send me any questions, and we'll be around.
Good evening, Aaron Stockton, the District Ranger here on the Natchez Ranger District. I wanted to talk to you about the forest closures that are in place and some developments with that. As Tony indicated, you know, with the change in weather and actions by the team here, we've decided that we'll go ahead and open up a little additional area that's currently under closure when we last talked. And that area will be the areas north of 410 up into the Little Natchez. Currently we have everything south and west of Forest Service Road 1900 and 1902 closed, and so we'll be opening those back up. So just give us a couple days to be able to get in there and remove the barriers, but we should have that back open for the weekend. Other areas that are open are areas to the east of 410 and then the area south of Highway 12. So those are open. Our seasonal, or our campgrounds, excuse me, our developed campgrounds are closed for the season. Those typically close after Labor Day, but the forest in those areas is open to dispersed camping and other activities. We are still in level 2 fire restrictions, so there's no campfires allowed at this time or charcoal. But as this rain comes in, hopefully at the end of the week, we can probably look at that changing too. But just keep an eye on our website or call the office for updates on that. But we are still currently in level 2. We've had a lot of questions about the interior of the fire and when will that be opened back up. I just took a drive through most of the interior yesterday, and there's still a lot of hazards in there even after the fire is suppressed. We deal with hazard trees along the roads. A lot of the roads are severely damaged by the heavy equipment that we use in suppression, and so it's going to take us a while to be able to make that area safe. Our current plan is that we're hoping we can get into all those main ML3 roads or maintenance level 3 roads and do hazard tree removal and some road maintenance so that we can hopefully get in there to groom those snowmobile routes for winter recreation. But I would not expect to be able to access that interior part of the fire before snow this fall. So that's kind of where we're looking on forced closures. Again, if you have any questions, please contact the office or look at the Facebook page for any additional closure information. Thanks.
Good evening, Miles Pollock with the Washington Department of Natural Resources. I wanted to start off, if you've been following this incident for the 40-plus days that it's been going on, you've heard me say it before that this is a team effort, and the cooperation between agencies, the fire districts, the Forest Service, and the DNR is really important. And the team that has come in since our last meeting has hit the ground running. They got a little bit of relief with some cooler and wetter conditions, and have come out to continue the good work that was done before them. And I wanted to recognize the good work that's being done by firefighters. As you can see, black line increasing around the perimeter of the fire, and just like you've heard from meetings in the past, where those priorities lie, and seems like months ago, but about a month ago, hearing about the priority to the south and stopping the spread of the fire further into communities of Natchez and the impacts to the highway, and that being done. And then, as you heard tonight from the operations section chief, the importance of taking a look at the stuff to the north and focusing efforts there, as that's where the priority and the needs has shifted as the incident has evolved. The other thing that I wanted to mention is there's an expectation that some of the east side state land closures on DNR land could see some significant changes later this week. So I think that paying attention to the DNR website for the opening of east side lands would be important, and you can see the details on our website about that. Along with that, expect that, similar to what the Forest Service was just reporting, that the lands within the fire area and adjacent to the fire area, expect those to remain closed for a considerable amount of time as we continue to do repair work and deal with some of the hazards that are created as a result of the fire. I'll be here for questions after.
Good evening, Al Lawson, Commander Northwest Team 10. Thanks for taking time from your busy evening to join us today. We really appreciate it. So first off, it's been mentioned this was a team effort, and it started quite some time ago. We're grateful to the men and women and the agencies that have preceded us here. We inherited a lot of really excellent firefighting, a lot of good work that's out there. The one thing that keeps me awake at night is some of the places we put people or ask people to work on these fires. And we make a great effort to keep our firefighters safe, as well as the public, which is a lot of the reasons why we still continue to have closures out there. We've got a lot of activity out there. And it may seem like a lot of times the fire has diminished, but we still got a lot of apparatus, hazard trees, and things to deal with out on the landscape. That's part of what we're doing there. The other thing I want to mention is, when we arrive here, we're here to humbly serve, and we're here to serve the communities. And what I say is bring the communities back to a measure of normalcy is really what we're trying to accomplish. And to some degree, we continue to do that. One of the things that makes me the happiest is to hear that we've been reducing the evacuation levels, and we've been allowing access to some of the properties out there, some of the landscape that previously has been closed because of fire activity. And we've been able to do that. We're really excited to hear about the coming weather events, which will help us in some ways. But again, I'm worried about firefighter safety and some of the impacts we're going to have out there with decreasing temperatures, rains, and whatnot. So again, I'll be focusing on the safety of the people out on the line, be my foremost concern, and we'll be mitigating to make that happen. We will not abandon the efforts out there, but we'll be scaling back certainly and looking towards those rains and snows and whatnot coming down the pike, hopefully. So it's been a busy season for all of us. I think this is our fifth assignment across the Northwest, Oregon and Washington. We've got a lot of families who are anxious to see firefighters back home and with the team, but we'll be here for the next week or two to wrap this thing up, hopefully. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll be available at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Al, and for all those informative presentations. We do have a couple of questions that ended up in the chat box. And the first group of questions are for Ops, Dean Lang. If you wouldn't mind coming up here.
The question is, where exactly is the new line near Cliffdale? I couldn't tell what you were pointing to on the map. So, if you have a map of the fire, if you drew a line from DP 42 to DP 26, that's about as close as you can get. It weaves and bobs to where, we're trying to do dozer ground, and so dozers have to have a certain kind of ground to be able to do that. You couldn't put a dozer down a cliff, for instance. So you've got to have the right kind of ground. But so we weave and bob to try to get that thing down and as wide as possible. I don't know if that answers. I don't know if you have a map. So, has the fire entered any campgrounds? At least as long as we have been here, which has only been a week, it hasn't entered any campgrounds that I know of. I don't know if it did before that. I'm getting some no shakes, so it sounds like no.
Thanks for that. Looks like we have a couple of questions for Aaron, Forest Service District Ranger.
The first question, will Bethel Ridge Road, Forest Service 1400 and Forest Service 325 be open before elk muzzleloader season October 2nd? So that's in the interior or on the edge there of the fire. It was a control line. And so I would not expect that to be open by October 2nd. But like I said before, it's going to depend on if, when we're able to get up there, remove hazard trees, and do road reconstruction in those areas. And the second question is, are we allowed to go? Are we allowed to go to our cabins on Forest Service land on Bumping River Road? If not, can you tell us when? So we're currently still have operations going on as the fire did go across Bumping River Road. There's hazard tree issues along the road that we're dealing with. There's very limited access in there now, and we're having to escort folks, primarily people that have their primary residence there at Goose Prairie. And so I can't tell you when we'll be able to open that back up. Like I said, we're really going to shoot to get areas back open for the winter sports season, and that road is plowed and there's a lot of stuff that goes on up there. But right now it's still not in a situation where we feel comfortable enough allowing wholesale access in there for recreational use.
Thank you. It looks like that's the end of the questions that are in the chat box. If some continue to roll in the next few minutes, we will have a team that will be answering those questions online. And once this program is over, and if you continue to have questions, you can call the information shop. The number here is 509-653-1468, or you can email those questions to us here at 2021.schneidersprings@firenet.gov. I know that's a lot, Both those addresses and our Facebook page address will be appearing on the screen as we end this presentation. And as we do, I just want to thank you folks at home who were able to participate. Thanks so much for those questions. Thanks for your support, for the community support, for the teams, for our team in particular, and others that have passed through this town. Thank you to our speakers for taking the time out of what is a really hectic and busy time of the year. And thanks for all those folks who were able to join us online. And good night.